Hello. Last time we looked at a few African traditions related to termites, their mounds, and their mushrooms, of which some are still practiced to this day. Women and men perform their specific tasks in this, sticking to their traditional roles and domains. In doing so, they both guard their secrets for the other gender and for outsiders. It is clear that the termite mounds are associated with female fertility. More than ever during the making of this series, I have felt confused by what I found, and it took me a while before I could discern what was valuable to me and what I had to drop for the sake of sticking to my subject as close as possible. It dawned on me how very little is known on the variety of African cultures and ethnicities, and how few reliable info is distributed to the general public outside of the continent. That which is out there is often severely tainted by the outsiders' perspectives. In any case, this time I will short look at creation mythology and some facts concerning agriculture and architecture, and starting off with the mythology of the Dogon and Mali. This people sought refuge in the sandstone cliffs of the Bandiagara range of Mali somewhere around 1400 AD. There is a lot of information of this particular tribe ever since colonial anthropologist Marcel Griaule and his assistant Germain Dieterlen wrote several books on the Dogon mythology, in particular on the ancient and complex traditional knowledge of astronomy. This has been picked up by several other writer entrepreneurs, putting the culture on the international tourist map. I have my opinions on certain of these individuals and the consequences of their work, and for now I decided to stick to the termites and keep my vitriol for the very last episode. There are minor variations in the accounts of the creation story. I invite you to do your own research always. I had to keep focus on the role of termite hosts and cannot go into any mythology itself. Amma is a primal deity in Dogon religion. Floating in the void, he throws stars into space and creates the sky. Seeking balance, he then throws clay or earth into the primordial waters and thus creates the earth on which he can dwell. But Amma, the sky god, is lonely and bored, and in lust he turns to the earth. She is a deity represented by an anthill. She resists him, however, and here is where the story differs somewhat. Some tell of a termite mound that arises as an obstacle between the two deities. Others say the termite mound closes itself for him. Anyway, he ends up destroying it in order to subdue her. And from this first rape, a pale fox is born, symbolizing Amma's failure in guarding balance with creation. This little fox brought speech into the world and is a symbol of disorder. It is associated with divination practices. The second intercourse gives life to the Nimos, spirits, 4 pairs in total, and from the third intercourse, eventually all life on earth sprouts forth. Okay, I oversimplified, but it's enough since it tells us 2 important things. One, this termite mound is located in the primordial waters, and it takes up a very important role in the creation story. And some of you may already see the similarities with early Vedic or Egyptian mythology. And 2, the earth goddess, or at least her female parts, are represented as an anthill slash termite mound. Again, this is identical to what we found in South India. It came to my mind whether the destruction of the anthill possibly links to female circumcision. mutilation practice that is still taking place in parts of Africa today, and the foreskin of a boy represents his female aspect, and the exterior parts of a girl's sexual organ represent on its turn her male aspects, and both are removed at some point in youth. In his book The Early Life of Rolihlahla Madiba, Nelson Mandela mentions his own initiation into manhood, after which the removed foreskin is placed on a termite mound or an anthill. In this way, the industrious ants secure it from sorcerers. This practice is not limited to South Africa alone. According to Germaine Dieterlen, the Dogon used the metaphor of the primordial egg interchangeable with the termite mound. This information has been copied by many. Some like to point to the Egyptian Book of the Dead dating back to 1500 BC, where this concept of the primordial egg appears in ancient Egypt. They eventually hint at or even conclude that the Dogon people are the descendants of the Egyptians of antiquity. But it is clear that this primordial or world egg and its association with the primordial waters is yet another one of these archaic symbols we can find in other ancient cultures just as much, and I go along with the general database idea of historians of the out of Africa theory, with the side note that I will not exclude the possibility of an out of India or even out of Australia theory neither. In episode 9.1 on the Formlings Enigma and the animist belief of the Sound people, I brought up the possibility of the primordial egg being a termite nest or the termite queen's chamber hidden inside. If this is indeed plausible, then I would additionally propose that this concept did not move from Egyptian kingdoms into Africa, but the other way around, from the heart of Africa into the north via the Nile Valley, for example, long before the Book of the Dead was even written. Being a mediary between divine potency and the realm of the humans, and containing valuable life force, the termite mounds, or formlings, as they are called by modern archaeologists, perform best in this role. At least at this point, that is my personal opinion. Egypt is for the next episode. Another universal symbol of creation mythology is the primordial snake, and it can be found in East and West Africa. Not so much only connected to the sky, as some would like to believe, but connected to the earth and to water, and most importantly connected to our primordial mound, the termite mound. This ancient snake is what is called chthonic or earth deity, and it symbolizes an important ancestor, or it at least connects to the netherworld where spirits and ancestors dwell, and that's where the connection to the termite is. A termite nest is because these nests and caves and rocks all are considered dwellings of ancestors. I found several mentions of the archaic rainbow serpent in different African cultures as well. For those who watched the first episode of this series, its reappearance may come to no surprise at this point. Well, it sure doesn't surprise me anymore. Just like the termite mound, the serpent is connected to the spirit world and the cycle of life and death. But also the rainbow serpent is for later. Leaving Mali southwards for a detour into Nigeria to a people called the Igbo. In their genesis, the male god comes down from the sky via a rope on an anthill that stands in the middle of, again, the primordial waters. Some versions name the earth goddess Allah, other versions mention a divine royal couple descending on the primordial mount from where they create life on earth. The similarity between this myth and one of the Dogon is obvious. One difference I thought remarkable, though, is that the Igbo story does not mention the rape or destruction of the mound. Dogon are Islamic and the Igbo are Christian. If that has anything to do with it, I am absolutely not sure. If these two cultures share a common ancestral past is unknown to me as well, but both claim to be of ancient Egyptian descent. And whatever it may, the north of Nigeria is occupied by Islamist people called the Hausa and the Fula or pâle. Of all the mentioned groups, it is the Hausa who speak an Afro-Asiatic language and who have the Indo-European or Nilo-Semitic genetic markers. Their lore speaks of their departure out of the Baghdad region ages ago. Also, for the Hausa, termite mounds are connected to the netherworld and to ancestors. Let's go back to the Dogon of Mali. They are a farming community, and I mentioned before that they migrated into the region from the south around the 15th century. Before that time, the Bandiagara cliffs were inhabited by the Tellem culture. There is little mention of them in the archaeological records, nor are the Dogon found willing to reveal what they know. If they do, then this information is peppered with stories of pygmies who understood the ability to fly or shape-shifted into giants. There is likely little they do know, since these Tellem had left the area long before the Dogon settled here, although some propose they assimilated. These old granaries built up and in the cliffside belong to the Tellem culture and are under reconstruction at the moment. And yes, they used termite clay to build them originally. There are also thousands of bones stacked in the caves, of which some are up to 15 meters high in the cliffside. DNA shows that they have no relation to any presently living group, and bones show clearly they are of a regular stature. One could say they pretty much vanished in thin air, leaving hardly any traces, just like a temporary of theirs, the Anasazi of the American Pueblo culture. The reason why the Tellem and after them the Dogon built their granaries inside these cliffs is probably to protect them, to protect the content from robbers of all kinds. These quadrangular ones are Dogon granaries. Earlier, I saw an article on similar granaries found in the Matopu Hills in Zimbabwe, the site where the forming rock art of the San ancestors is located, and these granaries that were found in there were made by Bantu people who lived in the area much more recent, but they are similarly built using termite clay. This clay is excellent building material and known for its durability and strength. It has been traditionally used for building houses, enclosures around villages, and especially ceremonial buildings. Its thermal qualities for grain and food storage has also been recognized by the industrial world now, and projects are running to reintroduce the knowledge on the use of termite soil back into the farming communities. For these communities, termites are neither good or bad news. The soil of the mound strewn over a field may then be enriching. Some species, however, can damage a crop of sorghum or millet really quick. They say that a black ant, and I am not really sure if they mean the black ant or termite here, is capable of emptying a granary in one single night. Nowadays, the mounds in agricultural area will mostly be leveled. I thought this here might be a nice example of architecture with a story attached to it. Inspired by termite hills, these shell houses of the Musgum people of Cameroon are made of a mixture of dirt, straw, and vegetable glue, which is dried in the sun. They are never as precise as to tell us what this dirt is. Anyway, protection is one of the main purposes of the family compound, and it is implored through ceremonial performances incorporated in the building process. The material protection is obtained through the shape of the dome, which is not easy to penetrate, and the psychical protection through a shield, which is used as a door. The Musgum migrated here around 1500 due to tribal wars. Termite hills found in this region are mostly taller than a man and are known for their indestructibility. The landscape is full of them, and the shape of the huts served as camouflage and as conning towers. Nowadays, this traditional architecture has been abandoned, and the skill of the masons is almost forgotten. Termite hills are called Baray in the local language, and this name also is commonly used for girls, which underlines the connection to femininity again. Also, newlyweds would put a piece of an anthill in their new houses before moving in. In the PDF, The Sacred Anthill and the Cult of the Primordial Mound by John Irvin, he mentions something similar happening in South India, namely that a piece of a mound would be buried inside or into the foundations of new temple buildings. To new viewers here, I would advise to take the time to read that PDF. It is not long at all, and it is a nice read with informative footnotes. One more thing before I close off. I happened to find this article here a few days ago with the title, "Why Termites Are a Rhino's Best Friend." It is only a few lines long, and it is important because it simply explains what the primordial mound really is. In this case, the mythical mound is located in the Okavango Delta in Botswana, and during annual rain seasons, every large mound is a refuge to mammals and birds, where they can wait until floodwater resides. Their poop, their digging, the seeds left by the residing floodwaters all adds to the growth of fresh plants in the rich termite mound islands. And read this quickie as well. I am sure it will add to the perspective. So, I am going to leave you with a bit of homework today. There will be a bit more on the Dogons later, and next time a look at the sympathetic magic and Egypt. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.